We've been really lucky and not had any huge typhoon hit us. We've had a few that said they were going to hit us, and most recently this giant super typhoon, which is like number 15 according to our numbering system in Japan, and it was totally on course to totally beat all up Kyushu, and then it decided to change its mind and went to Korea instead, South Korea. So we're like, yay, thank you, because we really don't want to have to deal with that. So, but I think for a lot of people it's a little confusing, and I'm not going to be a meteorologist and try to explain to you the difference between typhoons and hurricanes. But a typhoon is a lot of wind and some rain that comes along with it. And in Japan, our typhoon season usually starts sometime in the summer and goes all the way through most of September probably. Maybe even sometimes even into October. But it's a definite kind of season for them. And like I said, they are numbered. We just give a number to them to kind of let you know which one's coming from where. Generally, they usually always hit Okinawa. Poor people down there are just ready and asking for it, I guess. And then it's just a question of how much they're going to hit Japan versus going up to the other side over there and hitting Korea and China. And like I said, we've been pretty lucky down here in Kyushu to not get hit too badly. I think, you know, if you live like in Okinawa, like I said, you get hit by them a lot. It's, like I said, a lot of wind, really, really strong wind, so much that it makes you fall over, and rain, usually that comes with it too. There's been a few here where we lived a few years ago that were bad enough to actually tear off tiles of roof and cause, you know, things to fly through the air and stuff like that. But you know, we're always hearing so many news stories about some of the weather being just that much more severe than it's ever been before. And we're always keeping our fingers crossed that things don't come tearing down on us too much. Watching the reports right now of everything happening again in Louisiana, and I feel so bad for the people there. I think it's always a challenge to try to deal with weather wherever you live. You know, obviously living in Japan, we have to deal with typhoons, and we also have to deal with earthquakes, and the occasional tsunami that might come along too. That's part of what you get when you choose to live here or you are born here. Being from Colorado, of course, we were used to having tornadoes, huge gigantic snowstorms, crazy rain and weather just in general, mudslides sometimes from flash flooding. So I think, you know, no matter where you live, you can't really escape any kind of really strange or bad weather. I've always heard a lot of people say, I remember some of the huge gigantic earthquakes that hit like California and stuff, and you hear a lot of people say to themselves, you know, why would you choose to live there if you know that every year you're going to have an earthquake that could potentially kill you? And, you know, I always kind of a little bit agreed with that thinking, which is maybe not so nice, I know, but I think being here and having a chance to move and leave my country behind and come to a new country and set up house and live here and raise my children here has, you know, really shown me that it's not that big a deal. It's really not that big a deal. It's not that hard. And, you know, I think it could be said because this is another country that's, you know, developed and very similar in terms of you know, things that are available in ways of living, but that's also very not similar. But you just adjust. And I guess maybe if innately you're just a person who just is terrible at adjusting to things, you probably should stay where you are. But if you have any ability to adjust whatsoever, it is possible to go someplace else. Even with very little money, it's amazing what people can do if they have to. And that's the thing. People don't realize that, you know, how much you're capable of doing, because we're really not often put into a position where we have to move. I think one time that made me really think about that was when the tsunami hit up north, and then we had the threat of the nuclear power plants up there, you know, exploding or leaking all over Japan. And, you know, my husband and I were just like immediately ready for whatever, and like, okay, if it hits, let's leave. We'll just leave. We'll go away. We'll go wherever we have to. Who cares if you can get everything packed in time? Who cares if you can save all your photos? Those things don't matter. And, you know, you can make an escape. You can go someplace else. You know, I think it just depends on how much determination you have. And I think a lot of people these days are missing that, you know. I know you have to have money a little bit, but, you know, there are things you can do, though. We used to be better at this, you know. We used to be better at surviving, and dealing with things and putting up with inconvenience and all that kind of stuff. And I think, oh, but I have a job. Yeah, you can get another job. It may not be the job you like, but you could get another job. What's more important? More important to save your family, or more important to keep the job you like? Well, it's my house. I love my house. Yeah, I like my house too, but if I was faced with a situation where I knew for a fact that, potentially over years to come, because of radiation leaks, I would be endangering my child, I wouldn't live there anymore. No matter what it meant, having to leave everything behind and start over working at McDonald's again, that's just something you should be able to do, I think. And that's, something that comes from being comfortable too much in one place. You forget that you can actually do those things. And if we get a chance to look at some of the people who've suffered and survived through these terrible things that have happened over the years, whether it be Katrina, whether it be 9/11, whether it be, the tsunami up north in Fukushima, any of those things. You see the people that survived through that, and they're fine, they're okay, and sometimes even better than okay. So I think that's something to kind of consider. Instead of just getting lazier and lazier and kind of letting things slide, I think it's good to try to push a little harder to challenge yourself to do some things maybe that you may not think are that easy, but could be really good for you and your family. So that's my little spiel. But I would love to hear what it's like where you live, what kind of natural disasters and terrible weather you have to put up with. I think every place has their own unique fun thing. I remember being on the farm in Minnesota with my grandparents when there was this crazy rainstorm that froze the minute it hit the ground. So we just were covered, everything was covered in icicles. And I always thought, oh, I want that. As a kid, I thought, oh, I want to live here because I want every rain to be like that. As an adult, of course, I realized that's stupid, but I thought it was so cool. And that's something I think, you should be able to appreciate some of this stuff too when you're young. You can remember those kinds of feelings. But